out. And our theme today for today's service is exploring what it means to flourish in an age of exponential technology. And we hear the words exponential technology, it feels it's about our technologies getting better and better. And we've experienced that over the course of our lives. I mean, who remembers the technologies from when we were little kids that was really cool, like the calculator, and now we're at AI, where it really blow all of our minds. And we look at stories like that, it feels like, well, this is a story about technology. But the story of technology is not the story of technology. The story of technology is the story of people. The technological revolution we are experiencing right now is about the unleashing of human imagination. 100 years ago, we had about 2 billion people on planet Earth with a 15% literacy rate. And so that means about 300 million people able to participate in the world of knowledge shared beyond their immediate communities. Now we have more than 8 billion people, 85% literacy rate, and so there's more than 7 billion people who are able to live in the world of shared knowledge, sharing their ideas, learning, reading about the ideas of others. And because we're all connected to each other through networks, nobody needs to invent something that's already been invented someplace else. So everybody is waking up every morning able to solve new problems, explore new frontiers that no humans have solved or explored before. And all of this acceleration is really, really exciting. And on top of that, we're experiencing a convergence of technologies. The title of one of my most recent books is Superconvergence, about AI, genetics, and biotechnology. And what that idea means is essentially that every technology is embedded in every other technology. 12,000 years ago, we had the agricultural revolution. And with the agriculture and agricultural surpluses, more and more people were able to live in larger groupings, little villages, and then cities, and then civilizations. And as those communities grew, then we needed ways of keeping tabs on everybody and taxes and all of those kinds of things. And that was a big part of our development of written languages, numbers, and letters. And now, our computer codes, if you just press a few buttons on your phone and you see the underlying codes, you'll see the computer codes, which are ones and zeros, which are Hindu-Arabic numbers, and the A's, B's, and C's, the letters of the computer languages, which are Phoenician Roman letters. So our most ancient codes are the underpinning of our computer codes. And with the computer revolution, we have the machine learning revolution and the AI revolution. And now with the tools of AI, we're able to interrogate living systems, like how a plant diffuses nutrients through a leaf, and use those evolved models in order to do things better ourselves, like build better, faster computer chips that speed everything up on this continuous flywheel. And so when people feel like technology is other, I always say that's not the right way to think about technology. Technology is us. The AI systems themselves represent thousands of years of our cultural evolution. Our mathematics, our logic, our science, our technology, everything goes into creating our AI systems, which are not coming to us from outer space. The underpinnings, the data sets that our AI systems are mining are us. It's thousands and thousands of years of human cultural history. So the wisdom, when you go on your ChatGPT and you ask a question and you get a really thoughtful answer, you shouldn't think, oh my God, ChatGPT is a genius. You should think humanity collectively is a genius, that for thousands of years, we've been struggling with all of these common questions, and that we've built this beautiful body of knowledge and wisdom, and now we have a tool to step back and look at us and look at this collective in a way that previously would have been very difficult, certainly for any one of us. My most recent book, as I mentioned before, in English, was called The AI 10 Commandments, a New Moral Code for Humanity. And in the book, I talk about my process of collaborating with GPT-5 to mine the entirety of human recorded history, including all of our different religious, spiritual, moral, and ethical traditions, to come up with 10 universal principles based on us and all of our history that, if followed by everybody, would lead to the greatest amounts of peace, happiness, and human flourishing. 2 days ago, the Italian edition of that book came out with this very beautiful cover, because Italians just do things beautifully. And that book, a couple of months ago, when Pope Leo's encyclical came out, the title of the papal encyclical on AI was Magnificent Humanity. And my Italian publisher said, well, we'd like to change the name of your book in Italian from the Italian version of the AI 10 Commandments to Magnificent Humanity, the AI 10 Commandments. And what I said to them, I said, I love the idea of connecting to the papal encyclical, but I think the title is wrong. Let's play with it. And so the Italian version is not Magnificent Humanity, it's Magnificently Human, the AI 10 Commandments, because these AI 10 Commandments are not coming from Mars, they are coming from us. And that means that the story of technology and everything that comes with it is our story. And that's our story on the upside and on the downside. On the upside, we're experiencing, and I live in this world, miraculous transformations in healthcare with new gene therapies and new treatments and new ways of diagnosing cancers and all other types of, and curing all kinds of diseases. And if you go, you shouldn't go, I hope not, but to an oncologist, and your oncologist says, well, I'm a deep humanitarian oncologist, and you say, great. And your oncologist says, as a deep humanitarian oncologist, I try not to use technology because I draw from the core of my humanity when I am treating and diagnosing your cancer. And I don't like to use these AI algorithms to diagnose the sequenced genomes of cancer cells because I am a humanist. What you should do with that oncologist is run, because you don't want that. What you want is an oncologist who says, what does it mean to be a great human oncologist? And what does it mean as a great human to use the best that technology can offer as a support and as a collaborator and even as a co-pilot? In addition to those upsides in healthcare and agriculture and many other fields, there are also very real and potential downsides. We're seeing the first AI war in many ways in Ukraine, where these autonomous killer robots are increasingly used by the Ukrainians and by the Russians. We're seeing the weaponization of these systems when you look at how much damage has been done, certainly to America and to the world through unregulated social media. That is essentially AI algorithms being unleashed on people when our governments haven't done enough to create the protective guide rails and guardrails that can make sure that these technologies are used wisely. So these technologies, as magnificent as they are, as human as they are, they do not come with their own built-in value systems. It's up to us to infuse our best values, our most cherished values, our most ancient values into our most powerful technologies. And that leads us to the question of how do we do it? And the one-word answer to that, at least in my view, is governance. Governance isn't just government regulation. It's not what governments do alone, although that's one piece of it. It's what all of us do in order to manage certainly a very challenging and complex experience like our encounter with these revolutionary technologies. And the way I see governance happening is as an inverted pyramid, an upside-down pyramid. And at the top are having global norms and standards, and below that, international agreements and international best practices, and then national below that, and communal, and then organizational, and whether it's churches or universities or hospitals. But the bottom of that pyramid, the base of that inverted pyramid, is individuals. The base of that is what how every person is thinking about their relationship with themselves, with their communities, with their technology, how everybody thinks about their responsibility, not just for themselves, but to the whole. And when you look around at these little mosaics up here, or think of a George Seurat painting that maybe you've seen at the Met, these pointillist paintings where if you come up to the painting, it looks like it's a bunch of dots. But if you take a step back, you see that all of those dots contribute to creating a beautiful painting. And in my view, that's the way that we need to think about the relationship of technology and human responsibility and human flourishing. We are each an individual dot with a really important responsibility, both to be the greatest dot that we can be and the most contributive dot to the beautiful painting that is humanity. So thank you so much, and with that, it is my distinct pleasure to invite up my dear friend, Janice Weinman. Shorenstein.